welcome back to Healthy Selfish. I'm your host, Monique Selman. And Healthy Selfish, we have been talking about boundaries, right? Everything to do with them, how we deal with them, the impact in our lives, right? How do we deal with personal responsibility, all of those things. Today, we are going to be getting into one of the hardest parts about boundaries, setting them with your family. So, when it comes to boundaries, family boundaries are the hardest. It's really hard to be able to tell, especially your parents, right? Like, no. I don't know if your parents are like my parents, but even when I'm saying no, I got to say no in a special kind of way. And so we're going to be learning, how do we set boundaries with family? How do we make it so that way it doesn't feel like a breach of the relationship, just a new and evolving step? Right? As you get older and as you start to have a bit more responsibility for yourself, it's important that your family starts to change with you. There's nothing worse than still feeling like you're 16 when you're 36. And so people always ask me, but what if it's my mom? My answer is always the same. So, oh well, even if it's your mom, even if it's your dad, even if it's your granny, oh well, yes, boundaries with them too, right? Nobody gets a pass to be able to treat you in a way that makes you feel less than or disrespected, that makes you feel taken advantage of, or even that makes you feel like you shouldn't have boundaries, right? Being family does not grant unlimited access to your life. Why family boundaries are hard. So there's several reasons that make family boundaries particularly difficult. The first one is always guilt, right? Like there is the expectation that you should do things for your family, and you should. I very much believe in helping the system, right? Supporting everybody, right? We all should be contributing to the household, even if our contributions look different. However, there is a line where contributing to the household goes a little bit too far. And again, that healthy selfish line is where we want to start recognizing, am I giving so much that it is becoming a detriment to me, right? That's where we want to start to draw the line. If we are not feeling any negative effects of our giving, we're likely giving in a healthy selfish manner, right? And so when we start to say no, it might feel really guilty because your parents have loved you. They have clothed you, right? They paid your phone bill. They paid for any trips or sports or activities that you wanted to do when you were young. And so it can get really easy for, right, like that guilt to pop up when it's time for you to say like, no, actually, I'm not going to do this, or I don't want to do this for you. There's also There's also the expectation of loyalty, right? That you will be here for me because I'm there for you, and anything that I'm willing to do for you, you should be willing to do for me. Everybody does not have the same idea about loyalty, and everybody's definition of loyalty might be a little bit further than yours. And so it's not that you have to have, right, perfect loyalty to your family, so much as it is that, like, we understand that loyalty is the expectation. And so sometimes that keeps us doing more than we might want to. The third is just fear of being labeled selfish or disrespectful, right? If family gossip travels fast and far, okay? And so sometimes, right, it's always like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so didn't say it. They said she wasn't doing this. She don't want to do this. She don't never want to help nobody. She always saying no to people. And so it can be really difficult to start to gain reputation within a family that like you're the one who's always so difficult and disrespectful. And so it can be really hard because your reputation might be on the line and how people see you. And then last is family rejection. And this one can be really, really hard because it doesn't just hit at like, well, I don't want to talk to you, and it's a temporary thing, right? This is holidays, right? It's like family milestones and life milestones. It's being isolated from the people who love you. And so, right, it can be really hard to set a boundary because that's a scary prospect. It's really fearful to think that you might not have your loved ones because you decided to choose yourself. And so that guilt is normal. It doesn't mean that you're wrong, but it is something to pay attention to as we're going through this to see how you feel when you start to try setting boundaries with your family. So our goal is realistic expectations. Like, we want your family to be able to almost predict your behavior. We want them to know you so well that they start limiting things as well, right? Like, they were like, oh, well, we could ask so-and-so, and somebody says, they don't do that. Like, they're not going, that's not how they do things. They told me that they don't like this, right? And so it gives realistic expectations. They know your behavior. They know what you're willing to put up with. They know what you're not willing to put up with. And when we know how people, right, expect us to act, we tend to treat them in the way that they expect. And so I'm sure you've heard the phrase, right, like, you like have to demand respect, or right, like people will treat you the way that you treat yourself. And that is very true, right? The way that you respect yourself is the way that other people will respect you. And so we're not aiming for perfect. Like, it's never going to be perfect. Families are messy, right? So just go ahead and just toss that idea out the window now, right? We're just looking for smooth. We're looking for things to be mostly easy, right? Every time you say no should not end up in some kind of conflict. We're hoping that with time and with practice, they'll be able to be understanding, and they'll just say like, oh, okay, well, we'll figure it out, right? Smooth, not perfect. Some people will be disappointed. So let's go ahead and just breathe that in now. You're not going to make them all happy. We're going to be disappointing some people. Some people aren't going to get the things that they want or need, and it is not on you to fix. And so just kind of understand that it will be some difficult emotions going through this. But again, we are sticking to the course. Some feelings may get hurt too, because some people are going to have to hear some hard truths. Right? And I am one to love a good hard truth, but we always have to remember that everything can be said with kindness, right? It's a lot of times people will just be like, well, the truth hurts. I mean, yeah, but like, truth without kindness can be cruelty. And so be mindful that in the way we express our boundaries matters just as much as communicating them at all. And so the bumps in the road are a part of change, right? This is not a sign of failure if things are not going well. That is the norm. We should expect things to be bumpy. I tell my clients all the time, progress looks like the stock market. So there's going to be a day where, like, boom, the boundaries are nailing it, right? Your parents are getting it, your friends are getting it, everybody's doing great. And then there's going to be a day when maybe they're stressed out and boundaries are not doing great that day, right? They need things, they're expecting things, they're feeling really entitled, right? And then another day they're kind of getting a little better, and then one day it's not going so well, and what we want is like trending in the right direction. Even if things aren't always good, we want to be heading towards up. So this next little thing is something that I have created, and this is, right, my 3-step way to get your family to buy into boundaries. Now, disclaimer, you should expect this will take 3 to 6 months. This is not a quickie, right? It is not something that's just going to happen automatically, right? Like real fast. No. It's going to take practice. It's going to take repetition. So we're going to talk about this in 3 parts. So step 1 is getting buy-in for behavior change. So we have to get them to believe that boundaries are a good thing. If your family has never had conversation about boundaries, if they don't even know what that word means, if people are enmeshed or codependent, it's going to take a little bit longer than 3 to 6 months. But right now we're just working on getting the idea here, right? So we want to frame this as a way for you to grow. So how that sounds is maybe you are talking to, let's just say, your mom, and maybe you're in therapy, maybe with me, and you're saying like, oh yeah, like I do want to get better at boundaries. I'm just not sure how. We really just want to start being able to use the word often, right? We want it to kind of just be an earworm for them, where we're just saying like, yeah, my therapist told me I need better boundaries, right? Like, have you seen this? Maybe we're sending them, right? Memes. We're sending them little Instagram reels and TikToks and that talk about boundaries, funny things and videos that kind of mention the concept. So we're just kind of working it into the background, right? A little subliminal messaging so that way they understand what boundaries are. The first thing that we are really looking for is for them to agree that boundaries are a good thing. We're not doing anything else, right? That the whole point of step one is getting the people in your lives to acknowledge boundaries, acknowledge where they can be helpful. We're not talking about your relationship yet. We're not saying like, we need boundaries, you need boundaries, I need boundaries. We're just saying like, yeah, this is something that I noticed that I want to do, right? Like I'm working on saying no more. Like I don't want to be a people pleaser forever. And so we're starting to just put the language out there that we do want change and that boundaries is the change that we want. So do not single anybody out. Like when you're talking to this person, we should never be talking about your relationship at this point. We're simply talking about the concept of boundaries. Even if they're the reason that you need boundaries, they don't need to know that, right? You just want them to start agreeing. Like, yeah, boundaries are good. Like I saw this other thing on boundaries. You'll know you almost got them when they start bringing up boundaries to you on their own, right? That's the snagged them, got them, right? Like when they start saying it, when they start being like, so-and-so, they don't got no good boundaries. Like, yeah, I saw the people talking at work and they hooked them. That's what we're looking for. So what buy-in sounds like. Healthy responses might include, right? If we're like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about how, like setting some good boundaries. And they say like, oh, well, that sounds really good. That sounds super healthy, right? If they're agreeing with you, like I was like, I kept saying yes to that and I shouldn't. And they're like, yeah, you do. Like you say yes too much. Like you need to say no more often, right? If you do say no to somebody and they acknowledge that they're proud of you for setting the boundary, we got them. We got them. That's how we know we got them, is because now they're starting to understand the language. They're noticing the behavior patterns, right? And they're starting to encourage you in that behavior pattern. So again, we're not using this as a way to like change your relationship at this point. Step one is simply about buy-in. So don't explain any of your specific boundaries, right? We're building alignment, not debating. So you don't need to talk about yourself. You don't need to talk about y'all's relationship, just the things that you want to do outside of that relationship. Step two, ask for help. Listen, everybody loves to be right. We all love to be right. As somebody who loves to be right deeply, please ask me for help. I love to offer help, and I love to be right when my help actually is right. Oh, it's a high. Most people feel that way. Most people like to be right. They like to be the one saying like, no, right? We don't like to ask for help, but people love to offer help. And so that's what we want to give them the opportunity to do. We want to invite them into this so that way they feel a part of the right change. They feel like we are doing this together, especially if this is like a mom that you need to set boundaries with. Like use it as a little team building thing. Like, yeah, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna find this. Eating it up, I promise, right? And so, right, families love to give feedback. They always love to tell you what to do. So we're gonna use that. So what this might sound like, I don't always know when I'm like people pleasing. Like I can't really see it until afterwards, right? We're asking them like, can you help me catch it if you notice that I'm doing this? Can you help me notice when I'm saying no too much? Like, can you just like discreetly tell me if you notice that I did it already? Like, if I did, can you tell me what I should have said? Like, and so we're using them to like, help catch it ourselves, right? It's not for nothing. It actually is really great to have a buddy who can tell you like, no, like, did you say that because you didn't want to get into an argument? And we might be like, oh, actually, yeah, I did, right? And so we want to do it discreetly. Just be like, give a little chit chat off to the side, and then you talk about boundaries. So then we're noticing that they are paying attention to your boundaries, right? They're paying attention to the things that make you uncomfortable, and they will be able to start telling you when, right, you might want to be paying attention to those boundaries. That means they're getting it. that means they're on board, right? They're with it, they're noticing. And so we want to use this time to thank them. It's so important that we use boundaries as a way to get close. Many people really think that boundaries tear relationships apart because you're saying no, or because you're like kind of putting some distance in there. And so they're assuming that the relationship will get worse. And that's a really big fear for close family members, people who struggle with abandonment or different attachment styles, anxious or avoidant attachment styles. And so the idea of boundaries is much scarier than the application of boundaries. And so we want to use this as a way to thank them for their support, show them what it means to you that they are paying attention, right? Acknowledge how it's been very helpful for you. Use this as a way to cement your love, right? Be intentional. My mom and I have worked through boundaries often, and there's great ways and metaphors that we've talked about that has helped her still feel like she's a part of the team. And so some of them is that I'll say mommy, let me handle it. And if I can't, I'll call in the big guns and you're the big guns. And I have used this before and she'll ask me too, she understands the phrasing. One time we went to Yellowstone and the manager was really mean and really rude to me. And I had already explained to the people that we were going to be getting there in the wee hours in the morning, asking how I should book because we likely would be later. And they said it was fine. They would arrange everything. And he was nope, wouldn't do it. And so I went back in the car and I was I don't know. I was they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't give us the room. It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And she was do you want me to go in there? I said, yes, right? We're calling out the big guns. Go get them, mama. And she did. We had a room booked. They gave us breakfast. They gave us vouchers for things. And we were all set up immediately. Yes, absolutely. And so me asking for help let her know that she was not going to be just completely tossed aside because I had boundaries. It was just only going to be certain times when she was involved. And so it really did let her know that she gets to stay, right? She's on the team, but she's not the leader of the team anymore. And so that's why we kind of really want to do this as a unit. We want to ask for help because we want the people in your life to still feel like they're a part of the team. And then boundaries, right? This is where rubber meets the road, y'all, right? Now we have to actually use the boundary. This is when we do turn it on them. Now, I ain't gonna hold you. They're going to be a little shocked because we have not been addressing the problems in y'all's relationship yet, right? But it does come eventually. And that's step 3. So this is where you will start to notice discomfort, because when we say oh, I want to do this. And they're no, we shouldn't do that. And we're well, you don't have to, but I'm going to do this. Surprise, right? They're going to give you a Pikachu face because they're what do you mean? It's well, you know how we've been working on my boundaries together, and I recognize that I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel good for me. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go do this. Now, there will be some discomfort because this is the first time when boundaries are actually popping up between you two, where you are starting to really use the boundaries for them. And so that might mean that they will be upset, right? That might mean that they will push back a little. But what you want to do if they do push back is just, again, lovingly, right? We're using this as a way to get closer, right? Well, we've been working on this and this is the boundaries. And I'm realizing that I need to make sure that I'm capable of setting boundaries with everyone, even the people that I love the most, right? I have to learn to choose myself. I have to learn that what I want is important and valuable. And while I understand that you want to do this thing, I do not, and I'm not going to, right? Loving, understanding, but still firm. And so we have to hold the line, right? They are going to push back, right? I've never seen somebody go into boundaries willingly if they weren't already really good at boundaries, because nobody likes to be told no, and that's normal. And so, right, we want to reference earlier conversations, right? When we're telling them well, you have supported it. You told me that you noticed my lack of boundaries. You said that I needed this stuff. right? Remind them of their support in the past. Like, well, remember when you said that I did people please too much? Remember when you said that I need to say more often, right? And then naming how saying no feels hard. Tell them that it is difficult for you to say no to them. You do want to do things with them, but you recognize it's necessary for you to be choosing yourself sometimes as well. Choosing yourself can feel guilty, but it can also feel oh so right. So here is an important caveat that we really do have to pay attention to. Now listen. Some of y'all families are raggedy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to go through that, but it's true. And we have to recognize that if you do not have a good or healthy family, these things may not work because not everybody actually does want the best for you. And sometimes that is the hardest realization that you have to come to, is that like they're not willing to do things that are good for you if it's not good for them. And so in these instances, right, like we do want to be mindful that we are not trying to use like regular healthy coping skills with manipulative people. It will not work, just a heads up. So this plan assumes that your family does want the best for you. So what you'll notice if not, right, is like if you're having chronic stress, right, emotional manipulation where they're trying to tell you what you should be doing and what you should be thinking, feeling drained, or they make you feel small, like nothing you do is ever enough. Like that's not them just being resistant to boundaries, that's actual toxic behavior. And so just pay attention that if any of these things are present, like this system may not work. Right. Also, right, significant mental health concerns, right, any kind of like diagnostic personality things, like that will change this up. We do want to assume in this case that people, right, the people around us love us and want good things for us. So now we're going to talk about the red flags and the manipulation, right? So things to watch for. Sabotage during your big moments. This is a big one. There are people's families who can never let them have the spotlight. I have a friend whose dad has had some kind of emergency at pretty much all of her and her sisters, right, like negative event or positive events. So graduation, boom, fallout, right? When she was getting a new house, boom, problem, right? Every time something happened for them, something went wrong for him, coincidentally, right? If that person's undermining your feelings, if they're telling you that like you're wrong for thinking this way, you're wrong for feeling this way, like you shouldn't feel this way, that is a huge red flag. When people try to label how you should feel, they're simply just telling you what they want so that way they can get away with it. And then if you notice that somehow you are always the problem, right? Like even when you're the victim, you're also the perpetrator. No, right? Really pay attention to if somebody's like trying to talk you into circles, and like when you came to them upset about something, now all of a sudden they're also upset. Anytime I'm talking to clients, be very clear when you're addressing a problem that if the other person wants to address a problem, you do it one at a time, right? I came here with something, you wasn't trying to talk about anything, right? So we're going to address this thing first. And if we want to still talk after this thing is done, sure. But if not, it clearly was not that big of an issue because you didn't bring it up. I brought up my problem. So we're here to talk about my problem. So be mindful that they don't feel like they're going to co-opt your problem and now we're talking about them. And so Healthy Selfish is going to ask you one question. And to the surprise of nobody who's been here for weeks, this is your homework question, right? Is this relationship adding to my life or costing me my peace? So after we have done all this work, after we went through the steps, right? The person has either tried and failed, tried, failed, and tried again, right? Tried and succeeded, finally, right? Like, was it worth it, right? Are we noticing that now that the boundaries are in place, right, things are going better, right? They are being mindful of your needs and your preferences, right? Or are we just spending so much time like trying to explain over and over and over again? Like, it's like, no, remember we had this talk and like you said you would do this and you're still not doing it. You cannot keep repeating yourself. At some point, if they do not follow the boundaries, we then have to move into boundary enforcement. If you do not enforce boundaries, they are just suggestions. And so that is it for today. I'm so happy that you were able to be here with us to learn about families and boundaries. Again, I'm your host, Monique Selman, and this is Healthy Selfish. I can't wait to see you next week. Bye.